everybody, it's Jen with Caketastic Cakes, and I'm going to show you how I made Vanny from Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach out of gum paste to create a really cool cake topper. And if you like this video, please consider liking and subscribing because it really does help me out. And look how cool she is, and I'm going to show you how I made her. Alright, I'm going to start out with a small cylinder of white gum paste. This is just plain white gum paste. And yes, you could use fondant to do this if you had some CMC or Tylose powder to stiffen it up. So I'm using gum paste, so I'm just going to keep saying gum paste, but you know, you do you. I know Vanny has a little bit of a shape to her, but I'm not going to worry about that because I put her in a crouching position. I wanted to make it seem kind of like, I don't know, like she kind of caught you and you're laying there trapped and she's like, oh, I'm taking my time as I torture you with whether or not I'm going to just, you know, kill you now or not. So yeah, that was the crouching pose I was going for here. So I have my two pieces of long gum paste that I rolled out and attached at the hips. Those are going to become her legs, or are her legs. And I have them flat at the end where the feet go because I'm going to give her her big old bunny feet. I made kind of like rounded off teardrops if you want, and then using the back of my knife blade I made two separations to create three big old Bugs Bunny looking toes. I'm using my veining tool there to just kind of accent them, make them a little more round, separate them out a little more, make sure they're really big and really noticeable and very costume bunny like. I cut the bottom end off at an angle there so it'll just kind of slide under her leg, and using a little bit of water connected onto the bottom of the leg. I'm going to do the same thing again in this like dirty greenish mud color, and again using my veining tool to kind of separate the toes, help make them a little rounder, really accent them. Cut it off at an angle and connect it to the leg. The leg also has a little bit of that greenish brown color wrapped around it because I realized after the fact that that color goes up her one foot a little bit. Now I'm going to start adding some gray to the patches to make patches on her costume. Her costume looks very homemade and stitched together, and so I'm going to kind of try to recreate that as much as I can. This probably would have been a lot easier to do, not going to lie, if I had done it before I made the legs and attached them to her body. But here I am. So yeah, you do the best you can, right? So consider maybe doing it that way if you're going to try to recreate this. I'm adding a little gray patch right onto her right hip. It kind of goes over her hip and down her leg a little bit. She's got one that goes up the left side of her chest and kind of like wraps around her rib cage a bit. I don't know what it looks like in the back, so I'm just kind of letting whatever happens with it happen. It's just kind of rounded off. She's got kind of like a salmon-y colored, dirty salmon plaid that goes on her right hip as well, or I'm sorry, her left hip as well as her left hand. So I'm just using this color. It's, you know, kind of maybe a little bit more pink than I should have done, but I tried. And I'm using this color and leaving it plain because I will use a food coloring marker to draw the plaid on myself. This blue is going to become her big old bow tie. And I just cut out a rectangle of it, kind of a sloppy rectangle. I'm going to fold it in half in the back so that the two ends will touch in the middle. Kind of bunch it up in the middle a little bit, and I'm using the back of my knife blade to make some indentations to make the outline of the little, I don't know what it is, the center part of the bow. And yeah, that's it. Bow. There you go. Nice and easy, right? I'm going to take two little flat pieces and cut them out into rectangles and then have them hanging underneath just to make the ribbons or the ends of the bow coming down. And this is kind of where before too I was saying that I'm not worrying about her figure too much. I know she's got a little bit of a chest on her, but the way she's going to be sitting and the bow and everything else, I just didn't feel like it was necessary to worry about that. That you're not going to really notice anyway. So now I'm going to move on to her head. I'm going to start with a ball of gum paste, and I'm going to pull and pinch and kind of smush out the bottom jaw there. The bottom jaw comes down into a point, almost like a V. So that's what I'm going to do, hollow out that part. I'm going to make a couple of eye sockets. They are almond shaped, so be careful with how you shape them and the angles that they're going in. And now I'm going to give her her muzzle. I had tried messing around and having it all one piece. It just didn't look right. She looked, I don't know, like Pac-Man or a crocodile or some duck almost. It just didn't work. So I'm making a little bean shape with a little line in the middle for the little line that goes up to her nose. and I just put on with a little bit of water, and I just kept matching it up and making it smaller until it was a size that I liked. I've got a little piece of black gum paste just to fill in the inside of her mouth because it is black in there. Using my tool there just to get it to spread to the corners the way I want it to go. And that's it. And here is where I kind of went off the rails. I filled her eyes with yellow gum paste, and I was doing this for a live stream, so it turns out it was supposed to be red gum paste. The kids were very kind enough to politely and gently correct me that I had the wrong color going there. So even though it's yellow here, make sure you put red inside. I covered part of her head there, as you see, with a little piece of gray gum paste, another patch in her costume. This is a little rectangle. I put a little mark in the middle there for her buck teeth of her costume. Just putting it in place, again with a little bit of water. And make sure if you do place it in there that you don't go too far back. It's got to be forward a little bit. I'm making a pilot hole with my lollipop stick in order to set her head on, and there you go. Now it sits nice and neat. For her eyes, we're going to, again, pretend that they're red. You're going to give her little black cat kind of shaped pupils. They go up and down like a little skinny bean. And you're going to use a fat bean for her nose. And this is just more black gum paste. Now these are going to be her arms. Her one arm I'm going to have posed kind of relaxed across her leg. You can see it tapers at one end. It gets fatter at the other, where I also cut the end off at an angle so it'll go onto her shoulder. And I just pressed down the one end and cut out a wedge to make a thumb. So now she's kind of just got a very loose mock of a hand. This is a piece of dried spaghetti with a little bit of black that I wrapped around and a little triangle of gray gum paste on it to make a knife. And she's going to be holding the knife. And I don't use any toothpicks. I use lollipop sticks and dried spaghetti so that nobody gets hurt. These decorations are totally safe to eat. That end of the dried spaghetti I poked into the leg and then wrapped the hand around the handles. Now it sits nice and neat. Now her eyes do have eyelids, so I just rolled out some white real flat. I just cut off a curve and laid it over top of the eyelid and then just pressed it into place so that it fit the way I wanted it to. It sat the way I wanted it to. And it took a little bit of finagling because, again, her eyes are more long and almond shaped. But once you're done, then you're done. You got it. Now this is going to be her other arm, more gum paste that I rolled out so that it's skinnier at the hand end and a little wider at the shoulder end. Again, cut it off at the edge where it's going to attach the shoulder at an angle. And I had it held up to her body like that so I could get a good measurement of it. This is the pink hand, the salmon colored hand that's going to be plaid when I'm done with it. So I just wanted to kind of like resting it so she's like resting her head in her hand as she's looking at you, you know, as you struggle to live, basically. Okay, so now I'm getting onto the ears. I just attached the arm with a little bit of water to the hand and the shoulder. Okay, the ears are simple. They're just elongated diamonds. Cut off one end so it's a little bit flat so you can attach it. And you're going to have two joints or folds in the ears. There's going to be one at that center diamond fold point, and there's going to be another one up near the tip. And now I'm going to use that same salmony pink color, rolled out real flat, in order to make an inside color of her ear. And again, imagine this is all sewn together and patchworky, so you don't want the pink to go all the way to the edge. You want to leave enough white around the edge of it that it will show. I'm using another piece of dried spaghetti to attach the ears, and the white of the ears are left a little bit thicker. So don't go too thin or you'll have a very hard time attaching them. Just stick that right into her head and you're good. Do the same thing with the second ear. Have those two joints. Have your piece of dried spaghetti. Stick it on in her head, and this one I have a little bit more at an angle. And that's it. Yes. So there you go. Okay. Now for her tail. I was told her tail is fluffy. And so I'm using a pair of scissors to cut a ball of gum paste and give it little peaks and ridges so that it makes it look a little more fluffy, where the rest of her suit is very smooth. Right here I was drawing eyelashes on. I'm getting into my edible food coloring markers here. And I tried drawing the eyelashes on. I didn't love it. I didn't hate it. I thought it was fine. But I'll end up changing it later on. So don't worry about the eyelashes too much right now. I'm using a brown food coloring marker to just draw some lines, some plaid markings on the pink of her hand and her hip. I'm going to add some stitch marks now with my marker. I'm using a black marker. And again, this is edible food coloring. I know that her stitches are actually like a whitish color, but there was no way I was going to sit there and cut out a bajillion little stitches in white gum paste. So I just drew them on. I drew them all over any patch that she had on her body. And now I'm taking a little bit of brown food coloring and a little bit of water just to dirty her up. She looks so nice and clean and tidy that I didn't like it. I felt more like if she's running around a warehouse, you know, attempting to murder children, or not a warehouse, a mall, I guess it is, attempting to murder children, she probably has not the cleanest outfit in the world, especially if she's all crazy and bringing, I don't even know, dead murderers back to life in video, games. And yeah, so I'm using a big paintbrush. I'm just going over her very lightly and just kind of dirtying her up. It makes her look a little better. I took some black food coloring and I'm going over the gray patches a little bit more. I used some edible silver shimmer to make the blade of the knife nice and shiny. I'm using some dark blue and a little bit of black mixed together to go over her bow tie, her big old bow she has around her neck. And now I'm going to make some whiskers. I've got some more dried spaghetti. I'm painting it with black food coloring, and then I'm shoving it into her face. Her whiskers in the pictures are all crinkly and crankly looking. They're not nice and straight. So if you have the time to make some gum paste ones and make little pilot holes and then stick them in later when they've firmed up, you'd have to be very careful not to break them. The spaghetti ones are very, very durable. However, they're really very straight. They look good. Don't get me wrong. I think they look good. But if you're making it for your own person, you know, you're not having to ship it or deliver it, maybe consider making gum paste ones. You'd have to let them set first, but it would only take a few minutes, I'd imagine. Now I'm adding some gum paste eyelashes to her because I didn't like how the other ones looked, especially when I got the whiskers on there. I really felt like they should be three-dimensional. So I just rolled out teeny tiny pieces of black gum paste and stuck it on like that. There you go. You can really see them now. She's got some fierce eyelashes there. And you can see all the stitches on her patches too. Okay, now I got one more thing to do, which is to add her eyebrows. I'm going to take two little white pieces, little triangles almost of gum paste. They're very small. Put one above each eye, and there you go. There she is. There's Vanny all done. So, I hope you found this video helpful. Please like and subscribe because it helps me out as well. I've got a lot of other videos out there, so be sure to take a look. And as always, thank you for watching Cake-tastic Cakes.